You've just entered the no delusion zone. I'm David Debato. Today, I'm going to be doing another one of my brief podcasts, relatively brief podcasts. There's no guest, there's no interview, it's just you and me. And we're going to discuss what's been going on here in America. Folks, I've decided that for the next forever, at least as long as it lasts, I'm going to be doing this series of short podcasts, monologues, if you will, in between the interviews that I will still continue to be doing with the leading figures of the day, international leaders, scientists, professors, prime ministers, you name it, foreign ministers, the leading people in the news every day. But aside from those interviews, I'm going to try to do a monologue. I'm going to try to talk directly to you, my listeners, my viewers, and hopefully my subscribers about what's going on here in the United States, because what goes on here in the United States usually echoes all around the world. It affects literally everyone, every nation on earth, whether they want it to or not. That's just the way it is today. And as you all know, on January 20th, 2025, just a little over 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks as of yesterday, I'm recording this on a Tuesday, February 4th. And in just 2 weeks, Donald Trump and his cohort of MAGA criminals have succeeded in pretty much destroying our democracy. They're not totally there yet, but boy, are they on their way. And as I said in a previous podcast, I believe that Donald Trump and his MAGA morons are going to succeed in breaking Adolf Hitler's record of destroying the Weimar Republic in only 33 days in 1933. I believe Donald Trump is going to break that record. Who knows how long it's going to take or how short it's going to be, but I believe it's going to happen. Well, if it already hasn't happened, it's going to happen any day. And today, folks, as I said, this is a relatively short video. I'm only going to focus on two individuals here because as a political cartoon once said several years ago when I was a police officer, and I never forgot it, the political cartoon was the side of a police cruiser, a patrol car, and on the side, the emblem, instead of to protect and serve, said, "So many scumbags, so little time." And that's the way I feel about the Trump administration. There are just so many scumbags that it's really hard to pick one or two or even 100 that you can focus on and say that they're the worst of the worst. But I'm going to try. But again, for today, I'm going to focus on two. And these two miscreants are, in my opinion, the worst of the worst so far. And the worst of the worst, the very worst, number one to me, as of now, is Elon Musk. I consider Elon Musk right now, as I'm making this podcast, to be the number one national security risk to the United States of America. I don't say that lightly. And I say that, well, for a number of reasons. One is he is an unelected official. Nobody elected Elon Musk. Nobody elected or voted for his insane, unconstitutional department, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. But here it is. He heads it. And again, nobody voted for him. Nobody voted for this agency. And yet, in just the past few days, this animal, this authoritarian wannabe, this richest man in the world, has succeeded in taking over, breaking into forcefully and taking over the computer system, the data system, the software in the U.S. Treasury Department. Now, for those of you who think, well, okay, that's pretty bad, but why is that a catastrophe? Well, it's a catastrophe because the U.S. Treasury Department is our paymaster. They are the budget people. They hold all our money. They pay everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone on the federal rolls. They send out all the state funding from the federal government. If the feds send money to states and all the states get a lot of federal money and many depend on it, it comes from the U.S. Treasury. All of the federal agencies are funded by the U.S. Treasury Department. Social Security checks, Medicare, food stamps, aid to just about everybody in the country and the world that's paid by the federal government comes from the database in the U.S. Treasury Department. And as of today, as of yesterday, actually, Elon Musk controls the software, controls the U.S. Treasury Department's data system, payroll system. He is in charge now of the multi-trillion-dollar budget of the United States of America. He can choose to pay or not to pay anyone or anything that is obligated to or by the United States of America to pay. Just think about that. We're talking individuals, and we're talking agencies, even countries, nations. One of the things he did immediately after ushering out the employees who tried to stop him, one of which was forced to resign, several of which are now under fear of prosecution by the Attorney General for having the guts to say, no, you're not allowed to do this. Now they're under fire, under investigation, and gone. Another agency that he interfered with and in fact shut down was the U.S. Aid Agency, U.S. Aid. They are responsible for paying, among other things, into the AIDS fund in Africa. They were responsible, from what I read, for saving at least 18 million AIDS victims in Africa recently. I believe that U.S. aid is either the sole or the largest funding source of African AIDS research. USAID. Let me just read a little bit here. I don't want to paraphrase or get it wrong. In Elon Musk's first 2 weeks in government, his lieutenants gained access to closely held financial and data systems, casting aside career officials who warned that they were defying protocols. They moved swiftly to shutter specific programs and even an entire agency that had come under Mr. Musk's crosshairs. Empowered by President Trump, Mr. Musk is waging a largely unchecked war against the federal bureaucracy, one that already has far-reaching consequences. Mr. Musk's aggressive incursions into at least a half a dozen government agencies have challenged congressional authority and potentially breached civil service protections. Top officials at the Treasury Department and the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, who objected to his actions of his representatives were swiftly pushed aside. And Mr. Musk's effort to shut down the USAID office, a key source of foreign assistance, have reverberated around the globe. Mr. Musk, the world's richest man, is sweeping through the federal government as a singular force, creating major upheaval as he tries to put in his ideological stamp on the bureaucracy and rid the system of those he and the president deride as the deep state. Utter bullshit. He is now the deep state. But what else is new here? Everything that Trump and MAGA says and accuses others of, that's just projection, because that's what they are or what they hope to be. So all of this protestation and crying and gnashing of teeth before the election about the deep state, well, who's the deep state now? Mr. Musk? Mr. Trump? You know, again, just think about it. Elon Musk has the keys to the kingdom. He is in control of the purse strings of the United States of America. He could stop payment to anyone or anything. He can strangle us, this country, and everyone in it, and all the programs. He can strangle programs for other nations who desperately depend on it. And that's happening right now. And where's the American press, the American media, the mainstream media? Are they shouting from the rooftops? Have they made special announcements? Have they made programs about this at prime time to announce this to the American people? Have they gone on the radio? Have they gone on their own podcast and shouted about this and invited on Elon Musk or even Democrats to talk about this? By the way, where are the Democrats? Crickets. The Democrats have laid down. They have ceded all their authority. Maybe they don't have as much as they used to, but they have ceded what little authority they have as a Congress, as a House of Representatives, and a Senate to MAGA, to Trump, to Musk. They are saying and doing absolutely nothing. How many press conferences have they held about this issue, about Elon Musk, an unelected, unvetted official with his unelected, unvetted staff taking over U.S. government agencies, including the U.S. Treasury and all of our money? What have the Democrats said about this? What has Congress said about this? Very, very little. Almost nothing. The same nothing that the American mainstream media has said about this. It's only podcasters like myself, and no, I'm not alone. There are others that are screaming about this online, on social media, but not enough. We are drowned out by MAGA, by right-wing talk radio, which dominates the American airwaves. So you can hardly hear somebody like me. Let me move on to the only other person I want to focus on today. And he's a disappointment, to be honest with you. And he's Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State. I never liked Marco Rubio, but I never hated him. I thought he had a decent background. He's well-educated. He's a Latino. He represented Florida as a senator. He seemed to have a firm grasp on both national and foreign policy. But here he is under Trump. Of course, he gave up any semblance of his manhood or character after Donald Trump eviscerated him during the 2020 election, calling him Little Marco, making fun of his parents and even of his penis. And Little Marco, just took it. And now he is a subservient lackey, cult member of Donald Trump. Little Marco, Secretary of State of the United States of America. Well, Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio appeared to escalate the Trump administration's confrontation with Panama on Sunday, telling the leader that President Trump had determined the Chinese influence and control over the Panama Canal threatens the waterway and demanding immediate changes, according to the State Department, led by Little Marco. President Trump, speaking to reporters at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, spoke about the canal on Sunday and said, "We're going to take it back," or something very powerful is going to happen. Secretary Little Marco Rubio made clear that this status quo in Panama is unacceptable and that absent immediate changes, it would require the United States to take measures necessary to protect rights under the treaty. The State Department spokesperson didn't specify what those measures might be, but when President Trump was asked whether or not he would rule out using military force to take back the Panama Canal, he refused to do so. And there you have it for today. Little Marco and national security danger number one, Elon, the maniac, Musk. And that's just two. Two of the very worst, two of the most dangerous, but two. And of course, I didn't get a chance to talk about the tariffs. We're now in a major, major trade war with Canada, Mexico, and to a lesser degree, China, but that's going to heat up. China is demanding an investigation of Google in retaliation for the 10% tariff that Trump has put on China. But again, we're not going to get into that today. Today, we focused on the two latest scumbags from the cabal of criminals that are currently running this country. We're in danger, folks. We're in danger. As of right now, I will say officially for me, we are in an authoritarian government, an oligarchy. What is an oligarchy? It's a country similar to Russia that is technically a democracy, but is run by a very few billionaires. That's exactly what we have here right now. The techno bros are running the United States of America with Donald Trump as their illiterate, narcissistic, criminal figurehead. And it's just going to get worse because, as I said, the mainstream media and the Democrats have done absolutely zip. They have laid down, they're afraid, they're kissing the ring, they're kissing the ass of Donald Trump. And that's a sure sign that a democracy is over. When the media and the elected officials of both parties give up and kiss the ass of the dictator, whatever democracy you once had is gone. It's gone. Folks, I wish it were different. I mean, again, I say this every time. I wish I had better news. I wish I could end this podcast with some very positive information and tell you how it's going to get much, much better, much sooner. It's not going to get better soon. It's going to get much worse soon. However, I will say, I do believe we will get through this. I mean, the Americans, the American people, and our allies, people that have been with us for over 100 years. We will get through this. There will be mass casualties. I wish I didn't have to say that. Figuratively and emotionally. Casualties, both mentally, emotionally, legally, and unfortunately, probably physically casualties in this war against this tyrant. But we will succeed. As long as people like me are supported by people like you. And yes, this is the time where I plug this podcast. And I ask you for help. I can't do it without you. Please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button in the bottom lower part of your screen. It means a lot. It means whether or not I continue to do this. It's the same as all of us who do podcasts. We depend on you. And I've just recently start to have sponsors, not sponsors per se, but advertisers who will show on your screen. Look at some of them. If you don't look at some of them, if you don't buy from some of them, and I've only picked the quality ones that, in my opinion, again, I can't survive. Very soon, I'm going to be announcing my personal, the No Delusion Zone brand of merch. Very soon. But for now, I've got other merchandise here. Please take a look at it, advertisers. And if you like something, please buy it. And again, go to buymeacoffee.com and buy me a coffee or 2 or 3 or 5. They're not that expensive, and they mean everything to me. So enough of that. I'll do this again. I'm going to try to do it every day. I don't promise I will, but I'm going to try to do it every day or at least every other day as long as this dictator is in office and we are in mortal danger. So, as always, you all take care, stay safe, and stay sane.